All right, so Heather Lowe's is the editor-in-chief of the Tennessee Conservationist magazine and the art director for Tennessee State Parks, where she uses her skills to not only advocate for a greener world, but to create it. Heather will discuss how she redesigned an almost 85-year-old publication into the most environmentally friendly magazine possible, how one company is manufacturing beautiful 100% post-consumer recycled paper with help from a landfill, and how UV light can actually be beneficial in the print world. Without further ado, Heather Lowe's.
Okay, you guys, so trying to share my screen here, and let's see if this works. Oh gosh. All right, can you guys see this?
Not yet.
All right, let me try this again. How about now?
I'm not seeing anything. Is anyone else? No.
Nothing over here.
All right. Oh, I'm so embarrassed, you guys. I really am good at my job, I promise.
I don't think anybody can be embarrassed on Zoom anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
totally agree.
We've seen it all.
It's like I need to go to my system preferences to allow Zoom. Oh gosh, you guys, this is just ridiculous. Okay.
If it's easier, you can email it to me and I can share my screen.
You know, I think I found it. Okay. All right, let me try now. Are we good?
Yes. I think we see your notes. I don't know if
No, you're not supposed to see my notes.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
But when you present, have you got a second monitor?
No, I do not.
There's a button, so you can do what you were just doing, and
Yes.
then at the top there's a display content, and you can just duplicate or get it to show. Because I think now put it in presentation mode,
Mm.
and then once it's in presentation mode.
It's in presentation mode.
I think because you did presenter mode, and that shows the notes.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Yep, that's it.
All right. So I am not able to see my notes. Okay. So I'm just going to wing it here. And go ahead and introduce myself. Hi, my name is Heather Lowe's. I think you heard a little bit about me, and we probably need to get going. Here I am with my husband. We recently moved up to the Cumberland Plateau, and we do a lot of hiking these days. Okay, so I wear a couple of hats in my role at Tennessee State Parks, which is a division of TWIG. On the right, you can see some of the design that I do for the parks, everything that you might see in the park that is printed. We did a lot of COVID signage recently, key cards, any sort of branding, menus, all kinds of stuff for the parks. Then on the left is sort of my labor of love, the Tennessee Conservationist magazine. The Tennessee Conservationist has been publishing in one way or another for almost 85 years. We're going to be celebrating our 85th anniversary next year. And they brought me on board to be sort of a change agent. They just needed somebody to come in, sort of refresh the magazine, take a look at things, and pull it apart and put it back together. So that's what we did. I wanted to start by introducing you guys to some of the people that are really instrumental in my upbringing and the things that I care about and the values that I hold so dear. So you see my family up there in the upper right-hand corner. I am sitting on my grandfather's head, and he started a nursery and garden business in Louisville, Kentucky. He came over on a boat from Germany, and he and his two brothers started a nursery business. So my dad is up there. He's the guy with the hat, looking very dashing. He grew up working in the nursery. So he was surrounded by plant material. He was selling Christmas trees. They had bees, they made honey, and he later on went on to be a landscape architect and land planner. So it was these early experiences within the nursery that kind of got him going and set him off on his path. So down here we see us doing what we always did, which was camping, because we never had any money. My dad had started his own business. And he did a lot of master planning and a lot of design for parks all over the state of Tennessee, from Edgar Evans to Big South Fork to Riverfront Park in Nashville, even the plans for one of my favorite parks, the Dragon Park in downtown Nashville. He has had a resume 3 pages long, single spaced, of all of the parks and greenways that he touched. So on weekends, we traveled around so that he could do site work and basically lived like this. It was great. I'm so privileged to have been brought up that way. And my mom was a biologist, and she is one of the most fearless environmental women I've ever met. Right now, she has driven solo. She's spending a month out in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. She has bicycled through Holland at the peak of tulip season. And so I kind of came by a lot of this stuff that I'm hearing about these days and that I get to work with these days, honestly, from these two. And then we have the hippies. That's my Aunt Kathy, who fled Louisville, Kentucky in 1966, the summer of love. She married that guy for a little while. That's Walt. Wasn't really meant to be, but he gave me my first motorcycle ride. And my first trip out to California was instrumental for me in just kind of leading to the path of sort of who I am as a person today and the things that I care about. So lots of horse riding as a kid. We had a farm. I was always grubby. I was always surrounded by plants. I was always surrounded by trees. Just incredibly privileged. In high school, I started working for the newspaper, the high school newspaper, the Alcorn at Hillwood High School there in Nashville. And so that's where I kind of got bit by the media bug. Really kind of got turned on to graphic design and just these ideas of how do you communicate with others on paper, because that's really all we had back then. The internet wasn't a thing. So if you were going to get a message out to people, it had to be on paper or, on TV or radio, which I got into radio as well. So I bailed out of college really early. I was just kind of more of a doer than sitting in a classroom and learning things. So my first media experience was at the Metro Music Magazine, which was this totally DIY, kind of a fanzine, kind of not. We actually had advertisers, and I was going off. I had great education in what they call commercial art in high school. We literally had a printing class next door. So we would mock up ads and whatnot, send them over to the printer. They would come back on paper. It was all very exciting. So this was the day when we were putting boards together. Everything was typeset by a typesetter. It was just a different world. But I took this experience and sort of parlayed it into a paste up artist at the Nashville Scene, which I'm sure you guys are very familiar with. It's Nashville's sort of arts and entertainment publication. It's still weekly. It's still great. Back in the day, I kind of got involved with writing this column about music. I was really into music, still am. And then on the lower left, you see one of the things that was, I literally drew this thing by hand and then cut the color for every single color. This was all when graphic design was still a craft. There were no computers involved. You did all of your work on boards. And I just wanted to give a quick example. I went through my stuff and I found this old music poster for a band called In Color. And so this is what it looked like back in the day to be a graphic designer. It was very intense in terms of materials and the way that we would tell the printer where to put color. So what you're looking at here, this is 2 layers. The bottom layer with the name of the band and the information, and then the faces of the band, that was to print in black. And then the 4 stripes that you see there on the right, that's cut color. It's called linotype, or it's called ruby lip. So those are the 4 stripes that would print in pink. So lots of waste back in the day as in graphic design. And unfortunately, also lots of danger. If you look at all of these tools of the designer, every single one of them says danger. I mean, there was no sense of, safety or conservation, or you would be hunched over your desk in a room full of other designers, and all of these noxious fumes would be coming up and swelling around your head and swelling around the room. We had these design markers that were highly toxic. They were great. Spray mount, which would get into your lungs and glue your lungs together. We had X-Acto knives that would fall on your feet. You literally were not a graphic designer until you had bled all over something that you had spent so much time putting together. So Duke University actually did a study, it was either in the 80s or the 90s, on these materials and how they affected the workers that were working in graphic design. And as a result, they stopped making these design markers that you can see here and went on to less toxic materials. Of course, if you ask designers, they really want these pens because they had xylene in them and you could really blend them. They were fantastic, but very smelly and very toxic. So these tools were the same no matter where you went. So working here in Nashville at the Nashville Scene, I was using these tools. And then when I fled Nashville as a young girl to go find my fame and fortune out in Los Angeles, these were the tools that I used at Hits magazine as well. So I took what I knew from Nashville Scene, jumped in a car, and of course, I had to go to California because that's where Aunt Kathy lived, right? And she was the coolest person ever. So got out there, got a job again as a paste up artist. We had, I forget, there was one day we had REM, the Neville Brothers, and Debbie Gibson all in the office at the same time. So it was the perfect job for, a young little kind of hippie punk rocker in love with music and graphic design. And it was a weekly publication. It was fast. No thought at this point to conservation, to recycling. That just really wasn't part of the job back then. Luckily, things have changed a lot. So LA was great. The hood never worked. That's right. The spray mount hood. You were supposed to go and spray your stuff under a hood, and it was supposed to suck up all of that glue and keep it away from your lungs. And of course, it never worked. So you would go outside, but then you would spray leaves to your project. And so that never worked. So you would end up using your spray mount just kind of over your trash can, and hoping that it wouldn't get in your lungs. It was a very dangerous profession. But California was great. The hills, the water, the air, it was beautiful. And of course, I discovered the Grateful Dead. So here's Kathy again, my aunt. And, this sort of hippie culture kind of opened my eyes to the way that human beings and the world around us are one. Okay. And you can call that hippie thinking, whatever. It was very real. It's still very real to me. So I'm forever grateful for these opportunities to, just kind of go outside, be with these people who, lived in their camper vans and traveled around and danced so hard at these great shows. I mean, it was just fantastic. But California grew to be a drag. Los Angeles it was great until it wasn't. There's just so much traffic, and it was time to come back home to Tennessee. So I did. And I came home and I worked with Lightning 100 and I worked at Thunder 94. And it was great to work in music. And what was really cool was that Lightning 100 actually had a publication back then called Bone Music Magazine. So again, here I am working in media, doing interviews, record reviews, et cetera, et cetera. So I was living the dream until David Lose called. And when daddy calls, you gotta go, right? So they were looking for a junior designer to work at Lose and Associates. And you can see us all down here in a charrette, designed charrette. That's my dad. And then there we are on the front porch of 40 Rutledge Street, which was actually the second office for Lose and Associates. The first one was right above Moscow's across from the Gold Rush on Elliston. So that was kind of a hip and happening place to work. And I did that during the summertime. But when I came to work full time for Lose and Associates, the work I was doing was laying out master plan documents. I was using those ink pens again to render black lines in color, any kind of communication. I even built the first website for Lose and Associates, which was very rudimentary because the technology was really rudimentary at that time. So I was working along. We did see that the computer was starting to come into effect. So I started taking classes at what was then called Nashville Tech in Quark and Photoshop and Illustrator and these types of programs on the computer. It was a new world. I realized I needed to finally get my degree. All of this stuff I was doing on a high school education. So I ended up applying to and attending the School of the Art Institute of Chicago at the age of 32 was my first class. So I got on up to Illinois, finished my BFA in graphic design and photography at the Art Institute of Chicago. I worked for a shooter named Sandro Miller for a few years. You can look him up. He's done some amazing work. We got to do all kinds of agency work. It was fantastic. And then I just decided to keep on going. So I went down to Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, to get my master's degree. This was some of the work I was doing at the time. High on documentary. I really became interested in sort of showing the world as it is. So I got to work on the Caro project, which was a hardback book, beautiful photography made by the Department of Journalism there at SIUC. There you can see an old website, it's really showing its age. And I also began work on the Tennessee Fireworks Project. I was homesick. And so in the summer times, I would come down, drive the 2-lane roads of Tennessee, and document the little fireworks stands that pop up by the side of the road. So that was about a 10-year project. Came back home to Tennessee in 2008, had some great experiences, co-founded a couple of things that still exist to this day that I'm very, very proud of. Shout out to Laurel Creech if you're out there. She had a hand in WXNA and still does. You should listen to her show on Fridays. It's fantastic. So all of this, just great stuff, becoming more and more aware about sustainability and about paper and recycling and all of these concerns that bring us all here together. So I was doing my own thing, and then I got a call from Kenny Chesney. They needed a book designer to come and design this hardback book, which is sort of the story of his touring life. 3 photographers. They called me up, Holly Gleason, who I worked with at HITS. Okay, she called me up and said, I have been looking for a project for you all these years, and I finally got it. She told me about the project. She said, we have a printer lined up in China. And I said, hang on. Nashville is a printing mecca. We can do this. We can keep all this whole project within the state. We can all stand in a room at the end of this thing and shake each other's hands. So give me 48 hours. I'll come back to you. Oh, and by the way, who is my boss on this? Like, how many people? Is it going to be like the record label, the management? She said, no, Kenny Chesney is your boss. So I said, let's roll. So first call, 2 people, Twyla Lambert Clark, who used to be with lithographics and now is just kind of my guru for all things printing, and Kelly McLaughlin at Athens Paper. I called them both up. I said, can we do this project? This is an 11-inch by 14-inch museum quality hardback book. Can we do it in Tennessee? And they said yes. So as part of this project, I specified 100% virgin forest FSC paper. And we're going to go into that in a minute. Seems like a lot of you guys already know what this is. So if you need to get a cup of coffee, now might be a good time. But it was a beautiful project. And I was really proud of, using responsibly sourced paper for this massive project. And it was great because for the first time ever, I really had a say into the design, which begins with paper, you guys. Design is a form follows function form of communication. And so, being able to design the actual matter that all of these images were going on to was huge for me. Okay, so let's talk about paper. We know that FSC means Forest Stewardship Council. And what these people do, it's an independent body, they're not for profit, and they have been established to help ensure that forest management is ethical and sustainable, and it's good for not only the land, but the people who are working on the land. It's really important. It's like the good housekeeping seal of approval, if you will. So there are 5 principles. Oh, actually, there are 10. I'm just going to give you in bits of 5. And this is where my notes really would have come in handy. But the first 5 principles you can see here, of course, the people that are growing these forests, the people that are working in these forests, the people that are actually passing on any products such as timber. Here in the middle, you see the paper. We're also talking about textiles, y'all, bamboo shirts, cork, things like these, things that we are getting from the earth in order to profit from is really what we're doing. In order to be FSC certified, you have to abide by these, they're really beautiful principles. Of course, you have to obey the law. Principle number 2, this is, you have to follow all of these rules that include, gender rights, safe working conditions, et cetera, et cetera. Principle number 3, Indigenous people's rights. This means that in order to get FSC certified, you have to approach anyone, any body of people, Indigenous people, if they have any sort of claim or interest to the things that are growing. You have to approach them. You have to understand what these places mean to these people and work with them to make sure that you're being ethical. Community relations, again, this has to do with being in dialogue with anyone that might be affected by your use of the products developed by the earth or created by the earth. Principle 5 is about the same thing. I have notes on this that do a much better job of explaining these, and so I can copy and paste those into an email for anyone who's interested. Environmental values and impacts, more of the same. Management planning means, you got to have a plan for this stuff and stick to it. Principle 8 is about monitoring that plan, assessing how well you're doing with these things. High conservation values is one that is particularly interesting to me. This has to do with soil erosion. This has to do with using local native plants to replant. Oh, I'm bungling this up. This is really, it's early, y'all. So this is all really beautiful, good stuff. Okay, let's just leave it there. But the FSC certification, what this is, and y'all know this, this is actually a mark that you get to put on your products. Okay, as a consumer, we can look for FSC certified products all the way to our toilet paper, y'all, to just let us know that everyone involved in the manufacture, it's like a chain, from the forests to the people who make that toilet paper, to the people who bring that toilet paper to the shelves, are all abiding by these beautiful 10 ideas. So I was super proud to be able to produce this book, and for the first time ever, be able to put that FSC logo, slap that on the back of the Kenny Chesney book. It's not going to mean something to everybody, but it means something to me, and it means something to some people. So always look for these logos. And if you're going to be printing, find an FSC certified printer and talk about that paper. Okay, so I left Kenny Chesney, we finished the job, and I got the job at the Tennessee Conservationist. And this is what the magazine looked like here on the left when I came on board. And I'm just going to show you some of these funny covers through the years, different logos and mastheads, and black and white. And then finally we get to color, but the color is a little funky. And I just love going back through these old covers. We've got magazines going all the way back to 1937, and they're just a lot of fun to look at. So thank you. It does mean a great deal to our home planet. Yes, this is really, really important. So in the 80s, the magazine started using this groovy graphic, and you can see this like kind of dated typeface. So when I was brought on board to be the change agent, what we did is, first of all, we had to rebrand the magazine. So the magazine had recently been brought under Tennessee State Parks. So we came in, the art director, Jeff Law, and I worked together to come up with a mark that's good for all seasons, that works with the state branding, and that retains, an element of the old brand as well, with the deer and the dove there. So here they are inside the hex. We redesigned the text. We added a map, which people had been asking for. But I wasn't done, because in order to call ourselves the Tennessee Conservationists, I mean, we really needed to walk the walk. Sure, we had a great looking publication now, but we know it starts with the paper. So I want to introduce you to Roland EnviroPrint. Roland is a paper made in Canada. Our paper is 100% post-consumer waste, which means that every single fiber in the Tennessee Conservationist has had a lifetime already. It's been a menu, it's been a library card, it's been a mailer, something, right? So that's kind of cool. But the coolest thing about Roland is they are 8 miles away from a landfill. Here comes that landfill. You can see it here on the left. What they do, I mean, everybody should be doing, y'all. This is just brilliant. They harvest all of the biogas, the methane that this landfill would be shooting out into our air, and they pipe it over to the paper plant 8 miles away, and they get 93% of the power that they need to run this paper plant from the landfill, y'all. I mean, this is what everybody should be doing, right? We take the stuff that we don't want and we put it where we need it. So we are super proud to print on Roland paper. It's a beautiful sheet. And not only that, but we had to find the greenest form of printing possible. So here's a diagram. Sounds like a lot of you guys already understand how regular offset printing works. You send the paper through the rollers, it gets inked up, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Maybe it flips over, then it goes through again. And then here on the right, you see the final printed sheets, and you get all the colors in the rainbow out of cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Well, traditional offset printing, the inks are made out of petroleum. So it's not good. It's not good for the workers. It's not good for the recycled paper. You know, if you want to use cardboard in your garden, you probably don't want to use cardboard or newspaper because it's got petroleum products all over it. Don't be fooled by soy ink either. Soy inks are better, but they're very, very hard to clean. They're very sticky. And so the solvents that are needed to clean up soy inks kind of defy the purpose. So what we needed was the greenest way of printing on this paper that we had already found, which was awesome. So enter UV printing. What this is literally, and this is a terrible graphic, but I found it online last night and threw it into my presentation. What UV printing is you've got your UV ink. It goes on top of the paper, just like regular printing, but then it's cured immediately with UV light. There are no solvents. There are no VOCs. It is healthy for the workers. It is beautiful for the planet. You can hold the paper in your hands the second it comes off the press. There's less waste. It really is the greenest form of printing. Maybe a third of the printers available have this form of technology. I don't know. I'm kind of pulling that out of the air. Look for UV printing is what I want to say. Okay, so here we are. You know, these sheets are coming off the press. Here's our FSC certification inside the magazine, which we're really proud of. And here we are. This is my little team. Louise Zepp is the long-term editor of the publication. There's Jeff Law in the middle. He's our art director. And there's me. And we're all there at Jostens in Clarksville, who does our printing. And they do a fabulous job. We love that we were able to keep it in Tennessee. And we're just tickled to death with the product that we've been able to put together. So we know that conservation is not a new concept. Here on the right, you know, during the war, Yes, Jostens is awesome. You know, back in the day, they had to ration paper. And as a matter of fact, because of this paper order, it led to the first time and the last time that a issue of the Tennessee Conservationist was not produced as planned. So this is not new. We also have conservation of space. All right. So over here on the left is Times New Roman typeface. This was commissioned by the Times newspaper to make the most of the space within the publication as they went to press. So less space means they need less paper, right? So you can get more words on a sheet if you use Times New Roman than say Courier typeface. If you ever have a paper due and you're running a little short, use Courier typeface because it will make that paper really, really longer than Times New Roman. You should try it for yourself sometime. It's really fun. Okay, so we have these new Echo typefaces, y'all, and these are printer typefaces for your home printer. Here's a couple of them. What these do at small sizes is, you know, all of the space that you can see here, it gets filled up with ink at like 10 points, 12 points. So you can save, some say 25%, some say 45%, who knows, but you're saving some resources by using these typefaces. So you can look for them online, download them, and use them in your home office. Echo Font also has a product that they say will make any of your fonts into an Echo font by pulling out those spaces and using less toner. So that's kind of cool. Excuse me, you guys. So I reached out to Kelly McLaughlin at Athens Paper. I wanted to give you guys a few more great paper choices. So here are text and cover. These can be anything: mailers, menus, annual reports, stationery, cards. If you need to get something printed, these are beautiful choices. They're going to be beautiful matte surfaces. French Paper has a water plant right next. They use hydropower on their papers. And Mohawk here, they're starting to get into making paper out of hemp, straw, cotton. You know, there's a lot going on out there, and it's really exciting. Coated papers, some people can't get away from, they think glossy paper, they've got to have it. Coated papers are not quite as green because they've got to have, you know, again, a petroleum product on top that makes them shiny. So get away from those coated papers if you can. Copier paper, of course, we know you can find copier paper out there that's a little more sustainable than just typical paper. I wanted to give you guys the contact info for Jostens, just in case you need a printer. You can get in touch with Larry, he's the best. Okay, so back to the magazine for just a couple more minutes. I think I'm doing okay here. We really, okay, first of all, we make all our money from subscriptions. We don't accept advertising. So, you know, when you read the Tennessee Conservationist, you're getting 44 pages of content on this beautiful paper with this beautiful way of printing. And our annual holiday offer is our biggest subscription drive every year. Well, do you remember Christmas last year? Nobody got their magazine in time to take advantage of the holiday offer. So our subscriptions are down. We're hoping to make that up this year. We've got the holiday offer already in full effect. Another way that we're trying to sort of revitalize the magazine is we finally got an online product. So we have a digital magazine. It's beautiful. You can take it anywhere. You can, you know, read it out on the trail. So I welcome you guys to check that out. Wow, crazy. We also have a new website, and we just this year we brought the magazine to the world of social media. So I would really appreciate it if you guys would all, you know, throw us a like or a follow on Facebook. Instagram and Twitter. We're having some fun over there. And it's great because we're able to communicate directly with our readers. It's awfully hard as a bi-monthly publication to keep people engaged when they're only reading something, every other month. So this allows us to kind of stay present in people's lives. And ultimately, again, form follows function. So what is the Conservationist about? What are we trying to do? We're trying to tell great stories about conservation, about Tennessee, about the beautiful things in our world, getting people to care about nature the way that you all and we all care about it. So if you've got an idea for a story, we are here to help you tell it. Just pitch us. I'm going to give you contact information at the end of this presentation. If your organization is doing something cool, if you know about something and feel like it'd be right for the publication, please get in touch and let us know, because we're always looking for good content. It's what we're here for. Another way to help the magazine, of course, subscribe. If you're not already subscribing to the Tennessee Conservationist, you're going to get, we've got a bunch of different packages here, but you're going to get 6 great issues a year, either printed in your hand, which of course is my love, or if you're a digital reader, you can get a year subscription for just $12. And finally, I do want to give just a little oomph to our holiday offer, which is already in effect. For the first time ever, we've got 2 different plans. If you want to give 4 gift subscriptions or fewer, you're going to save a couple bucks. If you can make a list of 5 organizations or 5 people or teachers or healthcare professionals or anybody you want to give a gift to, 5 or more, you'll save $5 per subscription. And I do want to say also, if you're in a position where you've got to, give a gift to employees, colleagues, book clubs, church choirs, these are really affordable $20 gifts, and every single subscription just helps us out so much. I think people love the magazine. I think they will love you, for giving them the publication. And that does it. Here's how you can reach me, our editor, our art director, our circulation manager at the Tennessee Conservationist. It's really been such a pleasure stumbling through this presentation without my notes, and I really appreciate everybody's patience and willingness to hear me talk about some of my favorite things. So I guess I'll sign off now in case anybody has any questions. Let's see. Yes, Bridgestone did give us subscriptions a few years ago, which was fantastic. They bought a bunch of subscriptions, and that was great. Do we plan to digitize all of the issues back to the 1930s? That would be a great project for an intern. And as a matter of fact, we are looking for some interns. So if anybody knows any bright college kids that would like to work for the magazine, send them my way. Does anybody else want to start talking now?
Thank you so much, Heather. We are giving you a digital round of applause. Everybody do those reactions. We so appreciate you spending your time this morning. Definitely got some more questions coming in the chat, but we can respond to those in the chat because we are going to now toss it over to Gracelyn on our board for this month's TWIG announcements. But thank you again, Heather. We so appreciate you. And everybody definitely go check out the Tennessee Conservationist Instagram, website, get your subscription ready to go everywhere you can find them. But we really appreciate you, Heather. And Gracelyn, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Heather. That was phenomenal. I feel like we all learned a ton about just like the magazine making process and the history of the Tennessee Conservationist, but also I feel like I learned so much about you and why you are who you are today. Like it's amazing to hear more about your background, and it's so impressive. And we're so thankful to have you as a part of TWIG. So thank you again. And
Thank
thank you all
you.
for being here. Our mission at Tennessee Women in Green is to empower, inspire, and connect women who are committed to environmental sustainability. As always, thank you so much to our sponsors. We could not do what we do without you all. We're so thankful to each and every one of you. If you or your workplace is interested in becoming a sponsor, we do have more information on our website under Get Involved on like the little header tab. And if you are a new member, thank you so much for being here and welcome. If you're a renewing member, thank you and welcome back. We are just so happy to have you all here. It's so good to see you all's faces. Any member, you have the membership directory available to you on the website. And we have some cool little tools via the directory where you can search through interests like hiking, fishing, any kind of interest you have. People should have it listed on their directory. And if you are a member, you can go and update your directory listing to include your interests if you haven't already. And that way, you know exactly who to reach out to for different activities and just getting to know people. And the board is here. We have board member on our Zoom titles. So if you see a board member you'd like to reach out to, please do. We'd love to grab a coffee or just have a little Zoom intro chat. That's what we're here for. We've got a lot of upcoming events. This is a very small list of many. We have a bunch more on our events calendar on our website, but this is just the highlight reel. So Saturday, September 4th at 9 a.m., that is tomorrow, the Cedars of Lebanon State Park is having a volunteer day where you'll do trail maintenance, invasive plant removal, park beautification, all kinds of fun stuff. They'll definitely put you to work. So definitely check that out. On Wednesday through Friday, the Green Business Engagement National Network is having a virtual summit. So that is an opportunity for networking and sharing best practices among people who manage and operate green business programs, or those who are interested in operating or being a part of a green business program. So definitely check that out. There's more information on our website there. Thursday, September 9th, TWIG is having a night out at the Nashville Sounds game. If you're interested in that, it's $10 a person. Just email marketing@TennesseeWomenInGreen.com for your ticket. And definitely mark your calendars for next month's program. We are having Anna Schwager with Southwest Airlines as our speaker. And as always, registration is on our website. Last but not least, this is very exciting. This has been a big work in progress. We are going to be having our annual USGBC and TWIG Leadership Breakfast on October 11th, 7:30 to 9 a.m. This is a great opportunity for TWIG members, USGBC members, people who are interested in sustainability to network and share their stories about sustainability. So we're really excited about this one. You can purchase a ticket through the link in our events calendar on our website, or Renee, if you would be able to drop a link in the chat for registration. This will be a great event. We do have shirts. If you're interested in purchasing a shirt, you can email marketing@TennesseeWomenInGreen.com with the size and color you would like. And anyone registered for this meeting can grab a free coffee anytime today, I believe, at Ugly Mugs in East Nashville. Just mention Tennessee Women in Green, and that's courtesy of the Green Interchange. Lastly, thank you so much for spending your morning with us. It's always the highlight of my month. I'm so glad to see you all's faces. Continue to connect with us. We're on socials. We've got a great website going with a lot more information. Job postings especially, we've got listed on our website. We have internships, part-time, full-time opportunities. So definitely check that out if you or somebody you know is searching for a job. But yeah, we encourage everybody to reach out to somebody who may be interested in TWIG. Always feel free to bring them to a virtual program just to continue to spread the mission and vision of TWIG. But yeah, I think that's about it. But y'all have a great rest of your month. Thank you so much for being here, and see you next time.